To see God is to be God. Reality is non-dual. One who strives to understand it becomes non-dual. In order to worship Shiva, one must become Shiva. The various types of chanting, austerities, and practices only generate duality. In order to recognize God, assume the characteristics of God. Be like Him. Be quiet. In this way, one can aspire to acquire the knowledge of Brahman, a truly auspicious aspiration. This can be achieved by sitting peacefully with concentrated mind. He who eliminates all is the true God. He who eliminates all is the true God. Just as you use an eye to see your eye, recognize the self using the self. If you try to meditate upon the self, duality is generated. Be aware of the fact that the 5 elements are apart from you, the self. Understand the self is beyond or prior to the 5 elements. In this way, the misidentification with the 5 elements is given up. This can be achieved only with the help of knowledge. To worship God means to worship Paramatman. Paramatman is spontaneous and is in the form of bliss. He who feels that he is himself the origin of all, or Paramatman, is full of bliss himself. All that is remembered during the day is forgotten while we sleep at night. Yet Paramatman, which helps us to remember, remains ever present, never erased beyond forgetfulness. Sweetness, sourness, spiciness, etc. are considered pleasurable. What is pleasure after all, other than an experience that can be likened to a favorable, transient tingling sensation? However, the bliss of our true nature is neither merely pleasure nor a transient favorable tingling sensation. It is only experienced spontaneously. It is that which is spontaneous or self-generated, which is full of bliss. What does this bliss resemble? It resembles the self. After giving up everything, it is the one who renounces that remains, and that is yourself. This bliss is devoid of all pleasure and pain. He who is blissful is Paramatman, and that all-pervading blissful Paramatman is yourself. Individuals suffer from 2 basic feelings. They find it impossible to believe that they are Paramatman, the Supreme Self, and they believe themselves to be something other than Paramatman, such as the body, mind, personality, etc. As long as we consider ourselves as a human, we cannot experience God. In order to see God, experience God, we have to be God. To correctly understand a Buddha, we have to be a Buddha. In order to correctly understand a Krishna, we have to be a Krishna. In order to correctly understand a Shiva, we have to be a Shiva. Otherwise, all our interpretations of their sayings will be our own limitation. It will be our own limited interpretation depending upon who we are. As long as we take ourselves as a body and mind, personality, character, all our worships are nothing but a mental imagination. We can never experience God, true self, Paramatman, in this way. Only when we give up this identification with the body, mind, ego, personality, character, and establish ourselves and identify ourselves with the source of all these things, then only we can experience the true self, God or Paramatman. So this experiencing God, through God, experiencing the self from self by being the self, this sense of experiencing one's true self is called the third eye. So through which sense are we going to experience God? If we cannot experience God through the physical body, through the mind, then through which sense we can perceive God? God can be perceived only through God, through this inner eye. So when we look only through the physical eyes, these two physical eyes, we see only physical forms. When we perceive through the mind, identity, character, we will perceive only other minds, characters, and personalities. When we are the self, Atman, Brahman, we perceive only Atman, Brahman. Our perception depends upon who we are. If we take ourselves as a body, wherever we look, we will perceive only bodies. If we perceive ourselves as a mind, personality, character, then we perceive mind, personality, characters everywhere. If we identify ourselves with Brahman, we perceive Brahman everywhere. So even though God, truth, self is present at all times, at all places, beyond the time and space, we can perceive it, we can experience it only when we identify ourselves with this true self, transcending the body, mind, ego, personality, character. Even though the sun shines bright, for a blind man there is no sunlight. Only when he opens up his eyes, he can see the sunlight. Even though God, Paramatman, Self, Parabrahman shines brightly, for a one who is identified with the body, mind, ego, personality, character, which blinds him from perceiving the ever-present God. Only when he opens up his inner eye, the third eye, only when he transcends his body, mind, ego, personality, character, only when he unveils those curtains which is blocking him from the shine of God, then only he can perceive God. Till the time one is not identifying oneself with Brahman, all his worships will be his own mental imagination. To perceive God, the only thing which has to be done is to correct our vision, widen our vision, open up this inner eye, transcend the body, mind, ego, personality, character, transcend this identification with a form and a name. If we do this, if we are successful in doing this, then an aspirant can perceive God everywhere at all times. Then he knows there is nothing other than God here. There is nothing other than the Parabrahman, Paramatman. Everything is that only. Because of the false identification, false imagination, because of the blindness to the truth, the aspirant was imagining that there is a world and he is a person living in the world. When this blindness is cured, he comes to know he is Parabrahman and the world is nothing but Parabrahman. There is nothing other than Parabrahman. To see God, you have to be God.